Share your best joke. Why did Alex and Steve from Minecraft cross the road? To get to the other mod. Alright, so welcome again. Welcome to Forever Emmanuel, LLC. Today we have a very interesting topic. Today we'll be talking about sex and intimacy, and which one of those are most important in your marriage or your relationship. But right now we're going to be specifically talking about marriage today, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we have a question from one of our viewers, and the question comes from, his name is Scott H. All right, the question is, his question is, there's almost no physical intimacy in my marriage, and I miss having sex. I never thought I would get married to not have sex or to have less sex. I'm trying to hang in there and suck it up, but these feelings of resentment keep on brewing inside of me. What should I do? I talked to a few buddies of mine, and they suggest I'm crazy for putting up with it thus far. Interesting.
Sip my tea.
Oh, we both sip our tea. Okay, so we're gonna go to answer that question, and go ahead and start us off with that, babe.
Well, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with Mr. H. I definitely agree with him on that. Nobody gets married to not have sex. There's statistics all over the place that actually show that on average, people that are married actually do have more sex. It's just the people who are single, they're having sex with different people, and it makes it look like it's fun, but it's not. It's better to be married. But it goes all back to communication. So if you have communication, I feel like there wouldn't really be that many issues. But that's just going into the regular norms. There are those extraneous variables where there could be something medically wrong. It could be something mentally wrong. It could be something physically wrong. So it just really depends on that issue. But if it's just baseline, just on average, then communication should typically normally fix that problem. One of the parties on either or is actually doing something that, doing or not doing something that the other wants to do. So if you communicate, you'll be able to get that information across. And you got to say it in a way that the individual is going to receive it. Because if you do not if you do not send it in a way that the receiver is going to be able to receive it, then they're not going to receive it, and you're going to just be pretty much banging your head up against the wall.
Absolutely, and I agree with you 110%, especially with the aspect of communication. I feel like people don't know or realize how valuable that is, and how valuable all types of communication are. There's verbal and nonverbal. You know, depending on how you're sitting, you know, are you sitting close to your mate? Are you comfortable? Are you, kind of far away, but you're smiling? Like, I really would like to share with women one thing that men feel, whether you think you're portraying something that you're not portraying, or whether you think you're portraying something that you're trying to portray something to him to make him think you feel a certain way, but yet he can sense that you're feeling something different. And I feel like most women would have more or less problems with physical intimacy if they were themselves being honest with their spouse about how they really feel about things. I've always said, always say how you feel, and then make sure that, as my husband said, you say it in a way in which the other party can receive it. I think that men generally really want to work things out in the relationship, as we see John here wants to really work things out with his wife. And it's very rare that men even reach out on the public forum.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
So I'm very impressed. Kudos to you for that, for one. And then for two, there could be some things, like my husband said, going on with your wife that you're just completely unaware of. Women go through all types of things: body image, emotional distress,
menopause, yeah,
hormonal imbalances. So it could be a lot of different things going on. But one thing I would suggest, you share with your wife, or you to help her see what's going on, because maybe she might not even know. A lot of women are brought up with negative connotations about sex. I feel like men are brought up more so, yeah, you got some, you get some, you know, you're the man.
Gotta get them ticks in that post.
Yeah, so I feel like men are brought up more with sex, looking at sex as it's a conquest, or it's a game. And once you've got it, you're good, or you're in the club now, right? And women were brought up with the whole ideology. I can't say it today, baby.
The ideology.
Thank you. The ideology behind sex that, oh, you know, if you have sex with this many people, you're a slut, you're a whore, you're nasty, you're dirty, or you have low self-worth. And to be honest, women who sleep around 9 times out of 10, they do have lower self-esteem and low self-worth. But to go back to the question, because I don't want to digress, to answer the question, I would say first talk to your wife. See what's going on with her. See if you can get her to open up. See if you can help her to relax, to be able to tell you what's honestly going on within her. Because the funny thing is that you didn't mention, and I'm very curious about, is in the beginning of your relationship when you were dating or courting, were you guys having more sex then than you are after you're married? That's something to definitely think about. And if you were, I would say that what switched when you're married? Because women have whole other thing about marriage too. Not all women, but I will say some women feel like, you know, once you're a mother, once you put on this new hat, you have to become this new person. But when you become a new person, I feel like the husbands lose out on who you were when they first met you. You know,
you need more husband-wife time versus mommy-daddy time. That right there is detrimental to a marriage.
Definitely. If you have children, there has to be time set aside for the children, and also time set aside for each other. It's great, and I get excited when I see my husband bonding with the children, and he gets excited when he sees me do the same. But then what about us? How do we come back to reconnect to each other? And there could be numerous ways to come back and to reconnect.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So moving forward, we also have a game that we're going to play. It's called Sex or Intimacy. Which one would you choose? Now, before we get started, we're going to define sex and intimacy, because intimacy could be seen. People see intimacy as a certain what? Okay, so the definition of sex, solely referring to people, is sexual activity including sexual intercourse. That's the definition, plain and simple.
And I have for the definition of intimacy, close familiarity or friendship, closeness. So the intimacy between a husband and wife.
People I think they kind of get them confused.
They get them confused.
Because they're two separate things.
Yeah, because everybody puts, for the most part, everybody puts, you know, when you think about sex, you think about physical. And then when you think about intimacy, you think about more so on an emotional level.
And so we're not talking about physical intimacy, which is sexual or sexual intercourse. We're talking about intimacy when you're creating a rapport with your partner, a mental and a heart-to-heart connection versus just a physical connection. Now, do you believe that men require more sex or intimacy in a relationship?
It just really depends. Every individual is differently. Like me personally, I'm more. It kind of ebbs and flows. It really depends on the day. But for the most part, on average, most men, I would say that they're more interested in the physical aspects of it. But I like. I'm not gonna say it like I like less physical intimacy, but I will say that I do like emotional intimacy. Like I like the whole, fixing my plate, bringing my plate to me, rubbing in my hair when I'm just sitting down watching TV, playing video games. Less speaking, more actions. Like just like it was like I like to be able to feel you when I'm not there. I like to be able to like hear your unspoken words. I do not like all the jibber jabber. The jibber jabber. You can keep that. It's like let me hear you without you speaking. And I say that to a lot of women. Like if your husband can hear you without you speaking, you're on the right track. If he can feel you without you touching him, you're on the right track. And I just feel like people focus more so on that. It's an amazing thing. Like people laugh at me all the time because I can be all the way across the world, and I'll be like, yeah, my wife is saying something, my wife is doing something, and I can call and I can feel her energy from across the world. So it just really depends on your connection with that individual. Like the whole point is for they always say equally yoked, and I really feel like my pastor, he was talking about it, and I really feel like it's pretty much taking two people that are individuals and you're putting them in one vessel. And when you put those two people in that one vessel, it's kind of like you're pouring into it. So you're not completely one yet. As time goes, those two people merge into whatever you have that is actually whatever you have as your base. And, you end up taking the form of that, and it just really depends. But like to answer the question, I'm more of a 50-50 person with sex and intimacy.
Okay. And so for myself, I believe very similar that they're equally important. However, if I had to put it on a percentage scale, I would say I would give intimacy 70%, and then I would give sex 40%. I do believe sex is important, and
Babe, that's 110%.
did I give 110%?
Yeah, you mean 60-40. Yeah.
Wait a minute, what did I say?
You said 70.
Oh, I should have said 70-30.
Yeah, 70.
Or 60-40.
Yeah.
I think, no, mine would be 60-40.
60-40. That's what I thought.
Well, thank you. Yeah, see, 60-40.
That's what we complete each other.
Yes, we do. Because, okay, well, I didn't eat anything today, so I'm kind of, woohoo, but it's okay.
Doing that fast.
Right.
For the summertime.
Jesus. Yes, gotta get it right. It's tight. I've been busy working. Forget that. Anyways, so yeah, I would say 60-40. 60-40, which is 60 being towards intimacy and then 40 being towards sex. Because for me, I'm a person that I like to have it build up. Like the gestures, like the slapping on the butt, or just touching the face, or words of admiration or compliments throughout the day. I love that. And my husband, he's good with words. He definitely knows how to compliment me. Absolutely. He speaks my language. That's what I'll say. He speaks my language. And then also just being thankful and grateful. Like a lot of times people say, oh, babe, I really appreciate this, or I appreciate that. And then when I accomplish something, I got my notary certificate. And he's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And he's working on his second master's degree. And I'm just like, oh, thank you. And it's a genuine compliment, to the little and the big things that I do. And I just feel like women definitely need that. They need to feel that their husbands admire them. And we need to feel like we're being praised, and that we need to really feel like you think or you feel that you're lucky to have such an amazing woman. And that's just what women like, because we're more emotional, naturally. Men are more logical. Like he said, they like to be more so respected. Hey, here's your plate of food, here's your drink, you need anything else? Like, especially if you work in a service industry.
Yeah.
How could someone work in a service industry, whether it be a nurse or a waitress or just in any type of service industry, and you're serving other people, you're being kind, and you're just nurturing and you're caring, but when you come home, you have all this in front of you and not doing it. You're just not, you don't pay the same homage to your household that you do everywhere else. And I feel like that's equally as important. So moving forward, we're going to give John, we're going to give you 5 things you can do to create more physical intimacy in your relationship. My husband will talk about, from a male's perspective, 5 things women can do. And I will talk from a woman's perspective, 5 things men can do to create the emotional intimacy. So here are the 5 things that wives can do to create more physical intimacy in their relationships.
So I have on here, number 1, see a doctor or a mental health professional. If you suspect a physical or psychological problem is in play, seek out some professional help. There are hormone imbalances and medications that can negatively affect the libido, which my wife stated earlier. You may also want to make sure you don't have experiences in your past that are creating negative feelings around sex, i.e., if you got sexually assaulted, sexually molested. There's a lot of things that we don't need to get into right now, but there's a lot of things that a person can endure that can cause them not to have negative feelings towards sex. Mm-hmm. The second one will be more forgiving. I believe forgiveness is number one. We also be more generous in giving, work on your self-esteem, and communicate. Like I stated before, communication is key as well.
Yes. So something that husbands can do, and specifically for you, John, to help you improve physical intimacy in your relationship, would be to be, again, more kind, more validating, more appreciative of the things she's doing around the house or the things she's accomplished at work. Number two would be the type of man she can look up to. Women, I feel like men have this whole ideology as far as, your woman has to look like a Barbie doll, but you can just look like however you want to look, And I feel like women would like to see their men in shape just as much as men would love to see their women in shape. I also feel like women want to look at their man and think, wow, he's accomplishing things. He's working on this or he's working on that. I think that's important as well. Number three, I would say also to be more giving as well. Who doesn't love a gift? And the gift could be a back massage, a foot massage. Maybe you might want to surprise her with a bubble bath. Sometimes some flowers, or again, just being very appreciative of the little things she does. And then the number four thing I would say, which is a really, really big thing, I would say avoid pornography. Avoid pornography like the plague. Because most women, when they see their man look at pornography, they feel very insecure, or they might feel like, what is he looking at? What does she have that I don't have? That can create all types of insecurity issues within a relationship. And on top of that, when you look at pornography is solely manufactured for sexual arousal. And so sexual arousal, I can't really talk with these braces. Sexual arousal should never be compared to physical intimacy or compared to intimacy at all. It's a very quick thing for that time, for that moment. And I feel like men might use pornography for the moment, but when your wife sees you looking at pornography, she's thinking about it for probably a lifetime. It'll be harder for her to get over. So if you can avoid that, if that is even the case, that would be a great thing to do as well.
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you for watching. Please remember to leave your comments so we know what you think about this subject. Let us know what's more important to you. Would it be sex or would it be intimacy? And subscribe. We put sex and intimacy on each. So each of us are going to raise our signs for each question. We're not going to peek. We're not going to look, because we want you to get his perspective and my perspective as well. Okay, so we're each going to ask a question. All right, so.
What makes you feel more loved?
All right.
After unwinding from work, home duties, how would you imagine us strengthening our bond, sex or intimacy? After a tedious day at work, what would you like your spouse to initiate, sex or intimacy? You have had a trying day with the children. Everyone finally settled. What would you like your spouse to initiate with you? You just had a terrible argument with your spouse. The dust has settled. You both talk and are now neutral. How would you like to connect with your spouse? You had the perfect date with your spouse. When you come home, what are you hoping for? That was an awesome game. Thank you for coming up with that, sweetheart. So, babe, how do you feel about our video being over?
I feel good. I feel a lot better now that I ate something.
Yep, let's zoom in on that. Definitely, she had a little snack.
That was gone.
Got her little coffee cup. See, she's actually drinking some juice now with the Gemini on it. Yep, I actually like that coffee cup because I got one that says Aries. You might have noticed it in the video. So what does it say on the back of the coffee cup?
On yours it says confident, courageous, adventurous, and then on mine it says witty, youthful, and lively.
Oh, wow.
Okay, watch out now.
Okay, so she's doing better, family.
A lot better. My synapses are...
She's snapping with the synopsis now.
Yeah. I feel like the video went good. I feel like it went really good.
Went very well.
How do you think it went?
I think it went awesome.